You've got Kabul right here on the Pakistan border. Those areas have gone up a lot in production. I was in the Coast Province just below that in the green right there. Production has decreased, and it's for a reason, because those guys are a lot more traditional. They are tribal leaders who are very anti-Taliban, very anti-Western in any kind of way. So when we would go in and ask them, basically, not me personally, but the higher powers that be, when they would go in and speak and ask these guys if they were willing to play ball, and they say no, their crops would be completely burnt down or destroyed in some kind of manner. So the ones who are willing to play ball are the ones who are going to have their production go up, like there and over here in Kabul as well. I've got some stories, personal stories as well, from being in Afghanistan, where we would be called out on these missions and be told not to ask any questions. We would have these OGA or other government agency type guys, full beard, decked out in all the coolest combat gear you could think of, and these guys would get put into our Humvees, and we would have to take them out on these missions. One of the days I remember very clearly is pulling up to an opium field, and these guys getting out and going to speak to the farmer. And meanwhile, we're sitting out here in our Humvees, manning 50 cals, trying to pull security for an opium field, and then sometimes you would see these OGA guys coming back saying, hey, destroy it all. Or sometimes they would say, all right, let's set up a perimeter and guard this. And those are the guys, that I assume that were willing to play ball with the Western countries and allow us to, do some kind of drug deal with that. We know our government's done that before.
In western Kandahar, poppy farmers score, till, harvest their crop, and the Americans do nothing to stop them.
I'll start pushing slow. Assalamu alaikum. I know that you care deeply about this contradiction, the fact that here you have one of the best fighting forces in the world ever mounted, and in a sense you're watching as this opium is being grown. I know it grinds at your gut. How do you deal with it? What are you doing about it?
Well, frankly, this is a part of their culture. So while it might grind in my gut, it's what they do.
We just saw the new movie, Kill the Messenger, that came out, where Gary Webb exposes how the CIA was bringing cocaine in and using Freeway Ricky Ross to, deal those drugs out into California. And there was this huge, crack cocaine epidemic that happened back then. So we know that our government gets involved with things like that, but it's just crazy. We're spending $7 billion to stop this production. Meanwhile, their production rate is going up. And now Afghanistan produces 90% of the world's opium. But then you've got the people who get addicted to them. They crush up the pills, snort them. They get addicted to heroin, injecting it, and it destroys a lot of lives as well. And our government's helping that out. It's mind-blowing to see how our country is willing to help put money in the pockets of people and others that want to destroy the American way of life. We're funding ISIS, we're doing all that, and once again, we're funding more drugs to be made, to be brought into our country to destroy American lives. So continue watching our reports on INFOWARS.com. I'm Joe Biggs.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen.
For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox Special at InfoWarsLife.com.
Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder, backed by FDA-approved phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water, ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. Take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with OxyPowder. Secure your OxyPowder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
An often overlooked fact about the current Ebola outbreak is that it's a different strain than we've seen before. A different strain even than broke out this summer in the former Zaire. And that should raise a question. how did it get to Western Africa? If it was transmitted by animals, how did it migrate thousands of miles across the continent of Africa without some kind of an outbreak in between? And not only is it a different strain that spread far more than previous outbreaks, Dr. Francis Boyle points out that U.S. government labs have been in this area. Why are they putting these labs in those countries?
Well, it's very simple in try to circumvent the Biological Weapons Convention and my Biological Weapons Anti-Terrorism Act of 1989 that provides for life in prison. We have a BSL-4 in Guinea. We have one at the capital there, one in Liberia, Monrovia, and another one at Kenema in Sierra Leone.
So, was it released accidentally through experiments? In the past, we've had Ebola get out 3 times in lab contaminations. In 2 separate incidences in Russian labs, there were 2 deaths. And we've had 6 separate monkey outbreaks that didn't transfer to humans, but humans were affected. They developed antibodies, but they didn't get sick, meaning that they fought it off with their own immune systems, highlighting how important it is for you to have good immune system health.
The National Institutes of Health mated live Ebola with the virus for the common cold. And it very well might have been this type of vaccine that they were testing out over there at these BSL-4 facilities. We know that the Sierra Leone government shut down Kenema and accusing them of starting the pandemic with shots under the supervision of Tulane.
We just have a report that came out last Friday, basically kind of buried in the Friday news cycle. This is from the New York Times, and we haven't seen very much reporting about this. The White House said they were going to cut funding for risky biological studies. Now, this is them saying that they're not going to do any more weaponizing. What do you make of that?
Well, that's the smoking gun. That's Friday in the New York Times. You see, they de facto admitted that this is exactly what they were doing at those BSL-4 labs in the 3 BSL-4 labs in West Africa.
As we've seen, they evidently didn't focus on containing the disease or even on basic contamination protocols.
Go into an infected Ebola patient's room without covering your head, with only wearing 1 pair of gloves and with your feet exposed. You would do that?
Absolutely. More is not always better. Better is better.
Well, today we got a picture of Dr. Frieden visiting an Ebola ward in Liberia. Look at him there. That's him front and center. He is covered head to toe.
Now, if the repeated lies and hypocrisy of the CDC doesn't make you wonder if the spread of the current Ebola outbreak has been deliberate, then the history of the U.S. government's involvement in bioweapons should. We're always told, of course, that DARPA's work on weaponizing viruses is strictly defensive. And it's for the public safety, of course. Just like the robots that they're creating that run faster than humans, I'm sure will only be used for hurricane relief. And it's not just DARPA. From the very beginning of its creation, the CIA has worked with criminals to develop biological and chemical weapons for the U.S. government. The book, A Terrible Mistake, The Murder of Frank Olson, tells the story of a CIA scientist who worked with biological and chemical weapons at Fort Detrick. His story is closely tied to Operation Paperclip, where Nazi war criminals were granted immunity for what they could bring to the American research programs on biological and chemical warfare. But it's not just Nazis that were brought in. Japanese war criminals were brought in as well. Here's some of the credentials of a Japanese general that we gave immunity to and brought into our biological warfare program. General Ishii's researchers injected tetanus into the heels of prisoners, left naked men outdoors in 40-degree below zero weather until their limbs froze solid as rock, put prisoners in glass rooms and sprayed them with anthrax, cholera, typhoid, plague-infected fleas, other diseases to calculate the minimal lethal dose. Even tied prisoners to a stake, and then exploded germ bombs overhead while soldiers wearing protective gear timed their deaths with stopwatches. Anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 people. Men like that formed the foundation of the U.S. biological warfare units. Scientists like Dr. Cyril Broderick and Dr. Francis Boyle are asking if this isn't a manufactured epidemic. But the greatest danger may not be Ebola itself, but the big pharma Defense Department cures and vaccines that are being rushed to market.
Normally, it would take years of human trials before a completely new vaccine was approved for use. But such is the urgency that this experimental vaccine is being fast-tracked at an astonishing rate. The vaccine uses a modified chimpanzee common cold virus to carry a single Ebola protein. It cannot trigger either disease, but should prompt the production of antibodies.
Right. What could possibly go wrong? For INFOWARS Nightly News, I'm David Knight.
Well, that's it for the INFOWARS Nightly News, but go to the INFOWARS shop and pick up There Is No Place Like Utopia. This is from Joel Gilbert. We are the exclusive carrier. You can get it for $14.99. Well, I'm Jakari Jackson from the INFOWARS Command Center, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
This has an aftertaste.
Tastes like Austin water? Yeah, it does. Ugh.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered through the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
High quality H2O.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, Monsanto's deadly pesticide, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
It has that processed flavor to it.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances and many more, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Use promo code WATER and save 10% off your ProPure purchase. Again, that's InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
You are watching the INFOWARS Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcode with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.